It begins mid-flight. Just a routine Northwest Orient flight in November 1971. When a man in a crisp black suit and dark sunglasses stands, looks you in the eye, and hands the stewardess a hastily scrawled note. "I'd like a drink," it reads. But then the note changes. "I have a bomb." In that moment, your heart stops. You realize you're witnessing something out of the ordinary. Not a hijacking rumor, not a media stunt, but something far more sinister. This isn't a movie. This is real life. And this is the story of D.B. Cooper, the man who roared into legend and then vanished without a trace. Romance gave way to terror as Flight 305 cruised from Seattle to Portland. The storm-swollen skies battered the fuselage. Rains tapped like fingers on the metal skin. In the cabin, passengers exchanged uneasy glances. Outside, the thunderstorm raged as if the heavens themselves conspired with what was about to unfold. The perfect setting for a man who wanted to disappear. He was calm, unfazed. He introduced himself as Dan Cooper, only to be misprinted as D.B. Cooper in newspapers, a misnomer that stuck forever. Who was he? A disgruntled military vet? An intelligence officer gone rogue? A rural drifter with a taste for danger? No one ever caught a firm identity. He was an enigma in a tailored suit. With manners that were almost polite, he asked for bourbon, taxed the crew's nerves, tiptoed up with his dark demands, $200,000 in cash and parachutes. Was it $200,000 he wanted or something more? This was not theft, it was performance. A high-stakes theater. He instructed that upon landing in Seattle, the plane would fill with fuel and then fly north toward Mexico at his command. The pilot would hold, the skies would shift, and nobody else would matter. You could feel the tension in every passenger's lungs. The cabin lights flickered with terrified anticipation. By the time Flight 305 arrived at Seattle-Tacoma, the authorities were ready. Negotiations blurred to background noise. The cash was loaded, the parachutes packed. Cooper boarded again this time, shackled to the cockpit floor like a dark passenger. Then, after the wheels left the runway on that second flight northward, something unimaginable happened, somewhere over the dense Cascade Mountains at night in the rain, with thunder rolling like an orchestral crescendo. He stood at the plane door, pushed open the rear staircase, and jumped, disappearing into the storm. If you imagine a leap into freedom, you're right. But freedom here meant leaping into near certainty of death cold. Wet, dark. Below him, nothing but miles of evergreen. Churning clouds, jagged rocks that would kill anyone with a misstep. Above him, a roaring mini vacation in a failing plane. Raked by winds that shredded parachutes and blew away wallets. Within minutes, he vanished into myth. The FBI unleashed the biggest manhunt in U.S. history, every footprint in the mud. Every scrap of cloth, every tip from the public, nothing solid enough to name a culprit. Over 800 suspects, decades of investigation, theories that ranged from high school football coaches in the Pacific Northwest to Cuban exile, operatives with military-grade training. They chased leads across forests, towns, underground bunkers, dark basements, and came up empty. The record stayed green, the case unsolved. Then came glimpses of truth or tantalizing smoke. In 1980, a boy digging on the banks of the Columbia River found a decaying suitcase full of 20 bills $, 5,080 in total, rotted from decades in mud, bills marked sequentially to those used in the ransom. Was it Cooper lost? A hidden stash to pick up later? The FBI couldn't answer. The notes were marked, spent in the wild and contaminated. Yet nothing else, no parachute, no body, no trail. Some believe Cooper died in a tucked-away canyon, succumbed to cold, his body devoured by wilderness. Others picture him landing safely, shedding his suit, melting into anonymity, Maybe moving to a small town in flyover country, taking up a simple life on a ranch, a fishing dock, or a dusty hardware store. Some fringe says he hired a mercenary team, fled to Costa Rica. Even UFO conspiracy fans have speculated, but the FBI, no arrest. No trial, no closure. The legend grew. Books, podcasts, CNN's true crime specials. A mixtape of theories. Every Halloween party and true crime forum lights up with imaginings. Maybe he whispered his real name at a bar down south. Maybe he got lucky and lived to 2005. Maybe the FBI found his perfect corpse, or maybe he's still alive, counting unmarked bills in a locked box somewhere, drinking bourbon on his back porch and chuckling. And the best part? Nobody knows. There's just a cracked puzzle door, and we have the key but no frame, no hinges, and no idea how to open it. We have the money. We have the plane logs. We have the flight crew testimonies. We don't have him. He's now private property of the unknown. What if the locked box with your name on it is at the back of your mind right now, filling you with that thrilling chill, knowing real mysteries still exist, unsolved, unclaimed? Here's the kicker. Even the modern age with drones, DNA, satellite grids can't crack his case. The FBI officially closed the active probe in 2016, but they maintain a small cold case group to monitor new tips. As recently as 2024, retired agents peeked at fresh photo evidence. Plausible suspects, but nothing definitive. No confession, no remains, no authenticated "I am Cooper" letter. Picture yourself tonight, settling in after a long day, going to your messages, and there it is, a faded Polaroid of a man watching an evening sunset from a cabin porch. You ask, who sent this? He walks into frame. You realize, maybe it was him, but then the camera slips from your hand. Even in 2025, obsessed investigators, one man in Montana caught a thermal drone image of a suspicious parachute-like object deep in a forest. A group of urban explorers claim to have found a buried chest at an abandoned mill, locked with no combination. A Reddit thread this June shows an amateur cryptographer interpreting a cryptic sequence stamped on Old Northwest Orient L188. Paperwork may be a code pointing to a hidden campsite. Internet commenters say, in part, "I'm telling you, my dad killed the guy. Found the chute, buried it under old barn floorboards. The money in the river can't be a coincidence. Someone left clues. Do these whispers mean anything? They're nothing and everything. Every tip leads nowhere, but each fuels the fire. And as long as those embers glow, Cooper remains more legend than man. Maybe that's the real shock. The case never ends. Not truly. And that gnawing uncertainty eats at us. Is he a pitiful corpse gnawed by coyotes? A cunning ghost walking down your street? A teenage boy somewhere bragging about the coolest game of stranger? Things real, heist? Now ask yourself, what if every piece of media you've consumed about him was part of the plan? What if Cooper planned for you to chase him, read him, mythologize him for decades? Like some twisted chess piece in the biggest performance art in American history. And you thousands of true crime heads are his spectators. That's how legends live on. They step into shadows, shake your head at your own certainty, then vanish, leaving you to spiral deeper into your own curiosity. He didn't just steal cash. He infiltrated our stories, our podcasts, our midnight message threads. He became the chase. Tonight, shut your phone off, look out your window, and imagine the quiet fields beyond your home. You might hear a whisper of fabric, a parachute collapsing in the wind, a scratching at the trees. You'd think you're imagining things, but maybe you're not. Maybe one day, the truth will bleed through. Until then, the disappearance of D.B. Cooper isn't just history, it's forever. A question mark etched in the sky, and that question mark might be watching you right now.